This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
This morning, and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It is Tuesday, the 16th of November, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. On the clock, we engage organizations, institutions, social and cultural leaders, and ordinary people to better understand the impact of public policy, private sector development, and emerging social and consumer trends. On the clock, we have conversations that help us understand and navigate a rapidly changing Bahamas. Well, good yawning this morning. I wanted to continue talking about the new COVID regulations this morning. I am still stunned. I went home and rewatched a couple of the videos of the events that took place this weekend. And I'm still stunned. I think we missed the plot. I think we missed the point. And while we are all, everybody ready for freedom, for just road, while we all ready for some sense of normality, we are still called upon to practice patience, discipline, self-control, individually and collectively, right? Like, we are still called on to moderate our behavior. See, I can appreciate people who say, look, we're doing the testing. We required only vaccinated people can come into events. We're testing people at events, large events. However, until we've seen some substantive or substantial upgrade, enhancement, improvement on the healthcare system, this behavior is just reckless. It is just reckless because we know that vaccinated people can catch and transmit the virus. And although what stats we are being shown is telling us that unvaccinated people are at a greater risk for hospitalization and death, it doesn't mean that vaccinated people are not at risk. It also, your safety protocols are not 100% foolproof. And you can't necessarily prevent a breach of your protocols. What if some unvaccinated people get in that space? But what if your event, through no fault of your own, except for hosting an event with 200 plus people, one small venue, outside of that, if it turns out to be a super spreader event, where are the resources to deal with that? Where are the resources that have been committed to improving your health care system? And to the people who want to attend these events, let me say this. Maybe I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. But you have a function and a purpose in this society. And when you can't go to work and do your job, systems fall apart. So I want to encourage Bahamians to not take the risk, even if it may be open to you. We are at a time where we should already be beyond the planning stages or the initial stages of new activities for the Christmas season that can help us hold on to our traditions while molding a way forward. This was what we're supposed to be doing. See, there's a big difference between 20 people at an event and 200 people at an event. There's a big difference between 100 people at an event and 1,000 people at an event. Somebody told me about an event happening over the weekend in a community in the East. They're making a delivery. They had a little child in the car with them. And the little child picked their head up over the window and asked if it was junk or new. Why are the streets filled with people at this time? Now, I think we all take a bit of the blame, and I am saying squarely blame in this situation. We all, at the state level, at the business and private sector level, at the communal level, the community level, at the family level, and at the individual level, we all have to take stock. We need to talk to each other. We need to ask each other what is acceptable and what will we tolerate? And more importantly, what is necessary? What activities do we need to ensure that we can engage in regularly to maintain our family culture, our community culture, our national culture? And those things we commit to maintaining and preserving and growing them. That's what it's about. Now, at the state level, I will say, like I've said before, I think that the government acted too quickly. And even if it was the government's intent to lift or to relax the curfew on the day after they got into power, there should have been a national address explaining which protocols are being relaxed, why they're being relaxed, and what is expected of us as citizens. Now, I wish the PLP government had taken my advice, because this is a conversation that they're going to need to have over the next 5 years with not just their citizens, the ones we think are unruly and prone to social disorder, but to all of its citizens, including the political class. Through campaigning, through the election season, as brief as it was, I know people thought maybe, okay, just a month of campaigning, of serious campaigning, that'll be okay. But it's like these guys decided to try and jam 6 months of campaigning into 1 month of COVID protocols. I don't know. But at the state level, we got a lot of work to do. And I say we. Because the government isn't just the administration, it's the royal opposition, it's civil society, it's the media, it's we the people. We have a lot of work to do. As we can see by our driving culture, that we don't take discipline very seriously. We don't respect things like stop signs and red lights and concepts like the right of way. And then when we go to our communal and interpersonal culture, we see the same thing pops up right there. We don't respect words like no. We don't respect concepts like consent, bodily autonomy, the right to control over our bodies, evidenced by the last week of stories in the newspaper. But even if those week of stories didn't exist, we would have all the proof in the world to show us that we have a problem in this country with respecting other people, with respecting rights, with respecting rules that govern the way we're supposed to interact with each other. And today's papers are filled with examples of that. I mean, I see story after story of allegations of political malfeasance and misappropriation of funds, as if there are not rules in place that clearly tell politicians and state actors what is expected of them when doing their jobs and handling the people's money. It's almost as if they don't care about rules and signs like stop and concepts. You see, I'm not a civil servant, but it's got to be a fancy name for it. But concepts like you can only do that which is prescribed by the policy or the law in front of you. They don't respect those things. The same way we, the people on the road, we don't respect these things. We don't respect your green light. We don't respect your pedestrian crossing, your right of way. You can't let me out this corner, miss. I coming out this corner. What you mean about consent? I don't need you to let me out this corner. Down to the interpersonal level. You's my woman. You belong to me. I ain't got to ask you for sex. These my things. You's my things. You got to ask me when you go out the house. You don't have control of when you leave this house. And even in the family spaces. And I will be fair here, because I ain't got no children. But parents who are overwhelmed by the from the circumstances they were born into, to the circumstances they couldn't overcome for many various reasons, to the circumstances they try to push through every day. Parents are frustrated, and we have allowed this culture to set root where the easiest way to control a child is to break them, to diminish their capacity for autonomy, to think for themselves, to make decisions for themselves. But what's worse in that scenario is that we force them to live and think like adults, but to act and behave like children when deemed appropriate. And then the best part is, we don't tell them when they should act like children and when they should act like adults. We force them to figure it out on their own. This culture has rooted itself in every aspect of our lives in this country. And that's why I talk about traffic all the time, because traffic is an easy way to see it. It's the easiest one to talk about. Then we don't have to talk about our personal trauma. The trauma that we experience as children, watching our mothers be abused, or our fathers be abused because they're not the breadwinner, or they're not in control of their household. This culture has taken root, Bahamas. But we have time to unroot it. More importantly, we have an obligation to ourselves, to the children within us, but more importantly, to the children we insist on bringing into this world. We have an obligation to root it out for them. From the rooter to the tutor, that means from the political class straight down. Because if you see an unhoused or homeless person that we would call a vagrant on the street, being mindful and respectful of the space that he or she occupies, then you in a house, in a car, with a job, you could do it too. Anyway, that's my music. We got to go to a break. When we come back, I want you to join the conversation. You could call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, or you can text us at 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Powered by BTC. Anyway, stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be right back on the clock with Erin Greene.
Hubert Edwards Global, in collaboration with Dr. Dave Burrows and iRise, presents the 5th Annual Success Summit under the theme Success Keys to Transform Your World, December 3rd through 4th. 2 days of transformational experiences with dynamic presenters from the Bahamas, Nigeria, Canada, USA, and Jamaica. You can't afford to miss this mind shift moment. 5 scholarship grants, 2 leadership awards, 1 life-changing event. This is a virtual event, so visit www.nlsolutionsbahamas.com for more details. This is what you've been waiting for. Success Summit 2021.
Loss of family members is very isolating, and people who have experienced loss appreciate when others have shared their grief. If you can't be there in person, go to the Nassau Guardian's website online at thenassauguardian.com and visit our obituary link. The Nassau Guardian's interactive obituary link allows you to read the funeral announcement, express condolences, or place photos on the online guest book for 1 full year. Losing a loved one is painful, but that pain isn't the worst thing to happen. Friends, loved ones, colleagues, and neighbors who ignore the loss compound the pain. Should the bereaved family wish to place the obituary and photos on our obituary site, just contact the Guardian's funeral industry partners or the Nassau Guardian. Remember, there isn't one magic right thing to say to someone experiencing loss that will make the loss less painful or easier to bear. The Nassau Guardian's obituary link, available online at thenassauguardian.com.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk, all day. I got some text here, but before I get into the text, I give you the call-in, text-in numbers and information. Join the conversation. These are the things that we should be talking about, Bahamas. And while we like to talk about politics, we need to focus on the politics of our lives and our communities. It's far more important than what's going on in the political class in and of itself. So you can text us at 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. That's powered by BTC. Standard text rates apply. Or you could call us at 323-6232, or 325-4316, or 325-4259. A text here that says, great show as usual. Since this seems to be the Wild Wild West in Nassau, what is your Wild West name? My Wild West name is Chickchani Ketcher. I come from the western side of the Isles even. In the Wild Wild West, western side of Andros. Another text says, great show as usual. If we don't respect human beings, you think people will respect a stop sign? We Bahamians don't like rules. Let me rephrase that. 80% of Bahamians don't like rules. I'll take it further. If we don't respect sentient beings that cannot take care of themselves, like animals, our pets, animals in our communities, animals in the wild, we really don't respect humanity. Another text says, good morning, Ms. Greene, I am confused. Some of the corruption or culture you were talking about is for the former administration or the former former administrations, or are you referring to both? Of course I'm referring to both. Children learn what they live. So if you are drinking and smoking, God knows what in the front of your children, what you think your children would become. God help us, Miss Greene. You're absolutely right. And that's why I keep highlighting this housing crises that we are experiencing, right? Because our children today are more and more overexposed and exposed to things that are inappropriate for their age, especially a lot of sexually explicit content. We need to ensure that children can live in homes where there are spaces, safe spaces for children in that home. There's a room that they can watch TV or a tablet or something without adults watching adult content in the same room. That's why the focus on housing is an important part of solving these other issues. And I got a caller on the line. Caller, you're on the clock.
Good morning, Ms. Greene.
Good morning. How are you?
I just want to make this comment, and I really get upset when people make statements like Bahamians don't follow rules. We built this country. When something happened to this country, what you saw on social media today would have, when I grew up, or even when you grow up, and we have a big age difference, those people are now have to fight with everybody we let into this country, and everybody who is doing the worst things in this country are actually Bahamians. And I say that not to put anybody down, because the world is changing, people are living in other countries. But I think we should have some standard, being a tourist destination, to who we let in here and what they do. And as long as we allow them to come in here that can't read and write and only could do one set of job, we're going to have this breakdown of the system when it comes to education. When it comes down, because they're black, they think we all the same. When it's white, they think we all the same. You have people in this country from certain islands, white. You don't see them carrying on like animals, right? Why is always the black people? What is the mixture? Where they coming from? You go to Canada, you have to have a degree. You come to the Bahamas, you just got to get on a boat, and they give you a passport to vote, and then that's it. I hate this country because of the lax. Everybody think we could come here and don't follow the rules, and then we are put like we are all Bahamians. No, don't do that. I am a 71-year-old woman, and I never even had a criminal record.
Thank you.
When you do that, you all need to start calling names and finding out and the government, what the government should do also. If you want to live in our country, we're going to make you use both of your names so we will know. So when they do this kind of stupid stuff, you could deport them right back to their country where they come from. Just like the United States to send people back been in the States for 30 years.
I appreciate the point that you're making, but let's try to minimize, let's sort of minimize the vitriol towards migrant communities.
No, you mentioned migrant. I said everybody in this country
I know.
claiming to be Bahamians are actually not Bahamians.
I understand.
Migrant.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I think it's important that we talk about how movements of migrant populations impact this situation. Because it's not necessarily the migrant itself, it's our inability to create and maintain systems that can incorporate the migrant effectively and efficiently in the system. So I agree with you. If you have 100,000 migrants coming in a year, and say 50,000 of them are students, your school system have to be able to accommodate that.
Thank
if
you.
Not
and
people,
the hospital.
Right, and it doesn't matter why
and
people.
The jobs.
Right, and it doesn't matter why people are on the sideline. If they remain on the sideline unattended to, then they can begin to display or manifest antisocial behavior. So I appreciate the points that you're making. I was going to crack a joke and say, look here, it's time we start deporting some of these boat people, like the said who turned into Robinson Crusoe,
Listen.
and illegally dive in crawfish because...
It happens all over the world. You could give somebody a passport. I remember when I was in England and they had problems with the Pakistanis and whatever. You know what Ted Heath said to them? We will give you £500 to relinquish your passport and go back to Pakistan, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of them did, and a lot of them didn't. But what that did, that made them realize that there's a standard of living when you come here.
Yeah.
And we are left throwing everything out there in the street.
Let me make this point about, let me make this quick point, and then I got to go. But let me make this point about migrants from the South. What I found is that when you show migrants from the South what the standard of living is, they aim for it and higher. I think that I agree with you though, a burden on dysfunctional systems will only continue to collapse systems. If we can create effective systems that accommodates the migrant and the need for labor, right, in the country, in a proper way, not the way that we've been doing it over the last 60 years, what you will find is that you will see, not just feel, but now you will see the positive contributions of migrants in your country. I argue to you that it is the political class and the business class that conspire to maintain the migrant in a state, right, that renders them unable to lobby for themselves and renders the employer
Erin,
at an advantage.
Let me just make this last point quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. I am not speaking to the people who come to this country with a degree because they're moving all over the world. We can learn from them, and we're not going to learn from some people, right? But what the point that I am basically trying to make is that when you're going to give away your maid job and your gardening job and your road cleaning job and all of these menial jobs for the poor people of the Bahamas, and you allow people to come in and do those jobs, what you're doing, you setting your country on fire to have criminality all over this country. People are angry in this country. They're angry. And the people who come here on the boat, they're even angry. They don't like us. Okay? That's what it is. And so if you don't like me, when I go to the States, I follow the rules. When I go to Europe, I follow the rules. But somebody has to stand accountable for the action of people driving through the street, making 3,000 miles an hour in a little march, who they want you to get out of the way, or what you got this car on the road for. We have to do something about some of the things that are happening in this country, because our country, we have all our Bahamian people left and gone someplace else.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. I appreciate your sentiments. And I'm going to say to any members of the audience that may have felt that I didn't respond appropriately to her commentary about migration, we're going to practice tolerance. We're going to let people speak. We're going to engage. And I hope that my engagement helped to moderate that discussion. Like she said, she is not just concerned about migrants from the South. She's more concerned about the migrants' ability to grow the country. And I say, if we did better housekeeping, like if we did better assessments of the contributions of migrant labor, we'll see that they have made tremendous contributions that we have not been able to sort of capture and channel. But when she started her contribution, she referenced something that I wanted to talk about this morning. I was trying to figure out how to bring it in. So I can bring it in like this. There were a number of articles in yesterday's paper and today's paper speaking to women's rights, women's advocacy, women's rights movements, women in politics, women focusing on women's issues, from we need a new day for science in the Bahamas, which is an op-ed by a woman about science. I got to add that to the list. Man gets probation for striking girlfriend's daughter. Another headline, Gender and Family Affairs hosts Women United in Politics Forum. Another headline, Orange the World campaign launches in Nassau. A headline from Bahamas Information Services, another story about the Orange the World campaign. Another headline, Zonto issues call for Bahamas to participate in 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Eyewitness News. Another headline, Bahamas branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Women's Association elects new members. That's from BIS. And in today's paper, just quickly, we got two headlines. We have a headline with Marion Bethel speaking to, give me a second. I got it right here. Bahamas has obligation to criminalize marital rape. And we even have a headline here by Mr. Michael Pintard, Honorable Michael Pintard. Pintard says, time to confront marital rape issue, right? So we got all those headlines between today and yesterday about all the focus and attention on women's issues and women and children and gender and violence. And then I see this video this morning. I hear this headline from Eyewitness News yesterday, and I see this video this morning of this horrific event that happened on Key West Street yesterday, a domestic dispute that evolved into a what I would call attempted murder, attempted vehicular homicide. That's what I would call it. And so I say to all of the women and people involved in these headlines, we're going to have a wider discussion about this, but I want to say to y'all that we are focusing our energies in the wrong place. Yep. We're focusing our energy in the wrong place. I got a caller on the line. Let's go to this caller. Caller, you're on the clock.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Listen, you know what I call to say to you? A lady that's called me just now.
Yeah.
She's preaching to me. But you know, really what happened to us as a people? We need to retrain our people.
Mm-hmm.
Our people need retraining and discipline.
Yes, sir.
Nobody seems to want to retrain. Each leaders we got don't want to take charge and retrain young men and retrain. If you can't retrain your young men how to run a society, we doom.
Yep. And look here, there's this point. If you can't retrain young men, how are you going to retrain old politicians to understand new policies and ideas? How you going to do it?
But that's the whole thing there right now. If you could retrain the old politician ain't checking for that because he survived for chaos.
Ah.
Okay?
Look
The
here.
old politicians survive of chaos, you know.
Old politicians in capitalism, sir?
Yeah, they survive of chaos. Chaos is the order day for them. Order society, some of these people can't live in there.
Mm-hmm.
They survive of chaos.
Yes, sir.
Order society, a lot of people were dropped by the wayside.
Yes, sir.
You understand me?
Absolutely.
So why don't we, as the people that are hanging up right now,
Yep.
why don't we implement the National Youth Service? Nobody's talking about that. There you got your people for your different posts in government and everything. Nobody's talking about it.
Yep.
We need that discipline in our society. If we can't get that, we doom. Thank you.
Absolutely. And the young people deserve the care that is attached to that program. Thank you so much, sir. Listen, we're going to go to a break. When we come back from the break, I'm going to read these texts. Don't think I've forgotten you. And then we're going to continue talking about what happened on Key West Street yesterday. Stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You're on the clock with Erin Greene. We'll be right back.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters.
Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Always on the go?
Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You are on the clock with Erin, Greene. Let's get to these texts. I said I would read your text. The text says, "Can't please y'all Negroes." I rephrased that word there. "Tired of all of y'all." I'm sorry. I sorry, sir. I didn't mean to upset you. Another text. "My name in the Wild Wild West is Apache, but it's not funny. We really don't respect each other. Trust me, we are victims of something that is larger than us. Some systems work better if we don't respect each other. They become more efficient if we don't respect each other. We don't worry about the collateral damage. We don't worry about the negative impact of policy on others, right? Like some systems work better if we would just do the job of forgetting other people exist or have feelings or deserve things. Another text, Erin, I'm a 67-year-old man. I've lived in Nassau for 49 years. Came back home to Andros, could not take the traffic in the way most people drive in Nassau. In Andros, the only time you brake while driving is at stop signs and when you reach your destiny. I'm so happy." Listen, entwined in the solutions for the housing crisis is understanding that a large percentage of people that have moved from the Family Islands to New Providence lived in a particular way on the Family Islands. And if I'm working on a housing project, I'm trying to figure out how can I recreate some of those concepts and styles and techniques in housing projects, affordable housing projects in New Providence. Another text, "Great show as usual. Your caller is absolutely wrong because the Indians, white people and Chinese ain't committing crimes. I want a Chinese commit a crime so bad so we Bahamians would not look like only us Bahamians antisocial." Texter, okay. No race is, excluded from committing crime or criminality. First, race is a construct, and we should stop talking about it. And while Chinese is an ethnic marker identity, we need to stop talking about it like that, man. It's like when people talk about, black on black crime. It don't make any sense. Another text, "That woman caller is so right. I agree. You have a lot of foreigners making true Bahamians look bad. Just yesterday, I told a Jamaican man, number 10 bus driver, off. He was so grouchy and told him they do here what they don't do in their own country. This is just last evening. Immigration must be dealt with ASAP. What you say, Erin? I say that, yeah, we do need to deal with immigration, but we need to rethink how we go about it. We need to rethink why we think policing people is effective. You can't police people like they're animals on a plantation, man. You can't. We need a different dispensation. Another text, "Morning, everyone want to come to our country and do what they want, but go to other countries and follow the rule." Listen, and the way I used to tell the joke is, in the Bahamas, a Bahamian refused to put on their seatbelt. But as soon as they go abroad, the first thing they do before they adjust their seat is snap that seatbelt in. Another text, if women claim for 40 years to have been in charge of 70% of homes in Bahamas as single parents, should they not accept partial or full responsibility for the chaos they have nurtured as much as the absent fathers? Can't have it both ways. If you claim autonomy, if rearing, then accept the results of that order. Okay, you conflating a couple of things here. The last part of your statement would suggest that the mother of the child demanded sole custody and then is blaming the father for his absenteeism and saying that it is the cause of whatever dysfunction arises. But in the top of your text, right, that's not what you're saying. You suggest something different. So let's go about it here. Children need more than just a mother and a father in the household for their maximum potential, right? It's about more than just a mother and a father. It's about a community and an extended family and authority figures that are serious and committed to the job. So if you're a teacher, you got to be in charge. And you got to practice integrity all the time. If you're a police officer, you got to be in charge. You got to practice integrity all the time. The child don't have to know you. They just, if they see you in their community, then you have an obligation to do that as a part of their personal experience of development, right? That's how it works. And a lot of us adults are slacking off on the job. Another text, Bahamians need to love one another. Yes, we do. Another text, I was walking in the city in Florida in the 90s with about 10 teenagers in the night. 2 cops were manning the street of over 2,000 people. I asked the kids if the cops were not afraid to be outnumbered. The teenager said, you don't want to mess with them or have them called back up. Another text, Erin, the rules of our country need to be respected, especially the immigration laws. Our borders are continuously assaulted, and worse yet, those assaulting it are rewarded with status. Wrong is wrong. You know what is wrong? Imperialism is wrong. We're going to get into that one day. But I appreciate what you're saying. Imperialism is wrong. Imagine that after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, a relative of one of the most prominent Americans ever came out as a co-owner or with co-interest in a gold mine. That's after the 2010 earthquake. What is wrong is imperialism is wrong. Tell them, Erin, follow the rules like they do abroad. I'm getting afraid to even go on the roads here. Yeah, man, this is what has upset me. When I hear Bahamians talking about how they want to go and live in a civilized country with civilized people who understand what life is about and how to be good to one another. I can't stand hearing those people talk and then watching them drive with their cell phone in their hand as if they understand what civility is about. Anyway, y'all took me well off topic. I know y'all want to talk immigration. I know y'all are very concerned and upset about migrants, but I want to talk about what happened on Key West Street yesterday, briefly before we end the show. So, caller, you're on the clock. You got 30 seconds.
Hey, Erin, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How you do?
I'm good. I hear people, they like to speak about this crime amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what I don't like in reference to the black immigrants, and it's some difference between white, black, or whatever crime. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of criminals, hardcore criminals, we're the ones that have to answer them. They come in a pretty shirt, and when you see them in the next 2 weeks, they dress up in a coat suit, in charge of a company or CEO of a place, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of persons who live in these exclusive places are the very criminals who do the most horrendous stuff. A lot of the crimes. How many times do you see one of them be hauled before the court, or you read that they were charged with anything? Mm-hmm. It's a classism thing, and I know, and I am so upset about the crime that we have in our society. But let's not be fooled to the fact that we're living in an idealistic world where just the black or the black immigrants or the black Bahamians are the ones You have the biggest criminal. The only gag is they never get caught. They get away with absolute murder. Woman slaughtered her husband. Where is she today? What happened? She was handed with like a kitten.
Alleged now, remember?
Alleged. But it just bothers me, Ms. Greene.
I know.
You
I understand.
Because let's be real, okay? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, look here, class and crime. That's another thing. Before you talk about crime, put the class in front of it, because we understand that poor, black, ignorant people are subjected to a different law. Also, though, at the same time, if you it's like we have to ask the question. This is a debate I want to set up. Is there a difference between a stupid criminal and a smart criminal? We say evil is evil and bad is bad. But I want to know what's better, a stupid criminal or a smart criminal. And I say that I did buck this scene a few months ago, and all of the granny came out in me, and all I could think to do was literally pray for these young boys on the scene that I pass, right? And I say something right here, and I just kept walking. And when we interacted, I just pray for them, right? Let me show you something. These was the most politest. They were the most politest young men that I interacted with, when I find out that my suspicions were correct. And they asked me to lead me to ask that question: what we need? We need smart criminals, or we need dumb criminals? Caller, you on the clock?
A pleasure. Good morning, Miss Greene. How you doing?
I'm good. This morning, now, Sparky, look here. I don't want to take the migrant discussion any further. I want to talk about what is happening on Key West Street.
Well, see, you'll have to fill me, and you only give me 30 seconds.
All right.
To talk about Key West Street, but you got to fill me in on what happened on Key West Street. I ain't pick up my phone yet.
No, man, but you tell me what you want to talk about.
You give up that quick?
Yeah. Tell me
I
what
thought you could tell me what happened on Key West Street.
Okay, so there was
there
was a horrific domestic dispute that evolved into a traffic.
I just glimpsed that before I called you. I just glimpsed that on my WhatsApp.
Let me ask you a question, Sparky.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to talk this morning.
What when you was a younger man, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the response of men on the scene in your community if they watched that happen in their face?
Well, first of all, that might not happen like that, because when I was a young child like that, it must be with that car.
True.
That might have been somebody riding a bicycle.
True.
Or horse and carriage used to come over A Street and come round into Centerville and through the corner with tourists in it when I was a young fella.
Yeah.
Horse and carriage used to ride through our corner, the dogs used to come out back of the horse.
But look here, you notice that the pot cake and the little children gone to help the woman, and bigger grown adults couldn't find their way to the car?
Yeah, we try to get different areas, like where I grew up through East Avenue, Centerville. My mother was the first person through there with a car. She had a 1957 Chevy. The first person with a car through East Avenue, Centerville, was Granny Fountain, my mom.
I bet you your man, my Grammy, was drag racing. I bet you ain't seeing her as drag racing.
He was also the first one through there with a black and white Zeta TV. But that's what I'm saying. What I was saying is I agree with that lady earlier on with the migrant thing. I don't even want to touch on that, because let me tell you something. As of late, let me tell you something. Something got to be done in our country, because the godfather of the Bahamas, Mr. Sir Lyndon Oscar Pendleton, said, if we're not prepared to fight for our country, we don't deserve to have it.
Thank you, sir.
We have foreigners coming in our country now, and I have them even on talk shows in our country telling us what we should do in our country to make our country right.
Sparky, thank you. Listen, I feel you. I understand why people would feel upset that migrants are coming into their country and doing better than them, especially when they feel like, as a Bahamian, I'm following the formula. I went to school, I got educated, I engage in my community, I do what the politicians say to do to advance, upward mobility, and yet foreigners and other people are coming into my country and making a better go at it than I am. I can appreciate why people feel that way. But I want to say to people that it's not the migrant that is causing you to lose or feel like you're losing. Because first of all, you're not necessarily losing. Second of all, we the people have to work together to ensure that everyone can benefit equally and equitably from the resources, both national and natural, that are available to all of us, versus those resources being used as favors for politicians and the political class, because it leaves a whole bunch of Bahamians feeling not just disconnected, but intentionally marginalized and ostracized in their own country. But like one of the older callers called in and said, old politicians survive off of chaos. And what the migrant situation has been allowed to devolve to is chaos. And trust me, there's some old politicians out there, not just surviving, but benefiting from it. Okay, I got 3 minutes left. I think my guest tomorrow, I think we're going to delve into this matter. But I want to say something. I want to say to them little children who was in the street on that video, if you ever hear this conversation, I want to say that I'm sorry that you had to witness that. But I smile, I appreciate, I am proud that the humanity and the divinity in you, small child, jumped up and acted and did what you knew ought to be done when you knew it ought to have been done. That you did that, and we're proud of y'all for doing that. To that little child that almost got run over, I am so sorry that happened to you. We're so sorry. And it is our job, we acknowledge it is our obligation to create and maintain communities where you never have to experience that. And to those in the political class, there is just too much money among us. I say to the women in this country, where we make up just over 50% of the population, there is too much money among us for these things to continue to happen. It's time for us to take a stand, Bahamas. Anyway, I'm out of time. Just about. I'm out of time. I'm going to let it go for the day because it did run hot just now. But I want us to be careful that we don't forget what our true purpose is. And our true purpose is to live with one another and to ensure that everyone can live a life free of violence with inherent divinity and dignity. Anyway, that's my time. On the clock is off the clock. It's 11 a.m. That means it's time for Levon Miller and Unleashed. So